Hey gang, everyone here. Welcome on back to the Cade in another episode of Suckerpunch Sunday, where we take a deep dive into a classic fighting or fighting platform-based game from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. I'd been thinking about this, and I'd gone back through down the list of all the games we profiled in this series, and I realized it's been a while since we've done one on the Nintendo 64. So we're going to go back to 1998, and a game that didn't get much fanfare and was released by Konami under two different names. In Europe and in Japan, it was known as GASP, G period, A period, S period, P period, exclamation marks, Fighters Nextreme, or quite simply in North America, it is referred to as Deadly Arts. Now, at the time, this was one of the first 3D fighting games that I knew was available on most consoles. Obviously, we knew with the Sega Saturn having Virtua Fighter, that was the one that really brought the 3D aspect of this into modern day. But this game, how it works is you can choose from one of 8 fighters, and you can do a one-player battle, and you can see there's a lot of options here. We can do team battle, we can do tag battle, we can create our own fighter, we can do practices, we can do all sorts of stuff. But the general idea of this series is, stop me when this doesn't sound familiar, story follows a series of fighters that have each received a mysterious letter to compete in a legendary contest about a champion who has disappeared. So, it's pretty much every fighting game and every fighting game / movie trope since 1973, more or less. So, and immediately I pushed the wrong button on it. And as you can see, the graphics aren't terrible for the time. And as they mentioned, it is built around 8 different fighters. And it looks like we've got quite a few options here for character design, although that one looks fairly weird. I'm going to go with Sakai. He just looks cool. But then you have to manually pick who your opponent is going to be. There's no random. The computer doesn't pick it for you, which I find rather odd. And I'm going to start with, let's start with Kaoru. Why not? Now, this game was first unveiled at the Tokyo Game Show in September of 1997.
Ready? Fight.
And in order for this game to work,
First attack.
you've got 2 primary buttons. Your A button is your kick. Your X button is your punch. And you have to use the D-pad. You can't use the joystick. Which, if you remember the Nintendo 64 controller, you have that great thumbstick in the middle. And you have the 2 control pads. But you got to use that one to work your way around and do different moves.
Sakai wins.
And then, as you see, it's just first one to have their life dwindled down to nothing loses.
Round 2. Ready? Fight. First attack.
And graphically, this is not exactly captivating stuff.
KO.
Oh, and he did a nice little hip toss to knock me out there.
You lose.
There are 12 arenas in all, 9 of which are available at the beginning of the play, and there are 3 unlockable ones.
Final round. Ready? Fight.
And as the game progresses, because this controller was one of the first ones to feature memory packs, that quick camera change is really annoying.
KO.
And a kick in the gut, and that knocks him down.
Sakai
But the
wins.
player's game progress scores and creative player information can be saved on the memory packs, allowing the players to continue to try and improve their skills or challenge friends while playing on their Nintendo 64 console. So it looks like we picked the first person we fight, and now the computer is going to cycle through and pick out the rest of them.
Ready? Fight.
But by comparison to a lot of 2D games at the time, they were leagues ahead of this. I mean, I look at things like King of Fighters. You go 3D with like the early Soul Calibur games. You think of Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, where they were at. And this looks like something that Konami, in again trying to get in on the whole
Time up.
fighting game genre, and you don't have a whole lot of time. So I think Congo won that one because he has more life than I do and scored more points.
Round 2. Ready? Fight. First attack.
So I think if you use one of the trigger buttons, or one of the shoulder buttons rather, it allows you to do that special move that I just did there.
KO.
And if it connects, I mean, that thing does a hell of a lot of damage. But you've got to use the right shoulder button and your thumb on the kick button to pull it off.
Final round. Ready? Fight. First attack.
Axe kick, I'll take that. That looks like a dragon punch. Flying elbow drop.
Perfect.
And we got a perfect out of it. Perfect! But this game, when it reached the critics in '98, let's say it didn't do well. The average aggregate score on game rankings at the time topped off at a massive 41%. Edge Magazine gave it a 4 out of 10. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it a 1.75 out of 10,
First attack.
which is abysmal for any game. Oh, belly to back suplex. Nicely done. Oh, is she gonna perfect me now? I think she is. Yep. I got perfected.
You lose.
Next Generation gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. Game Informer GameSpot gave it 3 to 3.5 out of 10.
Round 2. Ready? Fight. First attack. Cool.
And I can't even get a hit off on her. There we go. Finally got one.
Hurry up. Time's running out. KO.
Too late. I've been knocked out. Jeff Gerstmann, writing for GameSpot, was critical, saying that the game was too basic and uninteresting. Next Generation, in their review, said that Deadly Arts was, quote, not only a crappy fighting game, but a sad excuse for a game in general. Bad graphics, bad control, and utterly generic designs all add up to an experience you will want to miss at all costs. GamePro said that the game was, quote, more Dudley than deadly, and that's a shame because the only other new fighting game that came out this season for N64 owners was Mortal Kombat 4. So this was really your option on the 64 at the time. It was this or MK4. And not having played MK4, but knowing its reputation, I can assume it is far better than that, which,
Ready?
of course, will lead people to wonder, okay, why am I playing this one today? Well, in reviewing games and deciding what sort of games I want to play on this, it was never always about trying to find the best games. And yeah, I could have done this as a WTF Wednesday, but since we're doing a playthrough starting tomorrow, which I hope you guys will tune in for, as I hope you guys tuned in for Sports Saturday,
Hurry up. Time's running out. KO.
Went in for the kick and then got jab right in the face. Bang.
You lose.
But sometimes it's worthwhile to go back and take a look at games like this that just are anything but good.
First attack.
Because if nothing else, it gives you an appreciation for games that are far better, both in terms of their mechanics and their design. And it lets you see who all was really kind of eating at the shallow end of the trough to try and get people interested in their games. And like most fighting games, it looks like you get to the quarter pole here where you fight your second or third opponent, or your third or fourth opponent, and they become so dominant. Whoop, what did I do here? There we go. Nope, not what I wanted. There. I can see what they say about the controls being all janky, because you're trying to get
Round one.
the fight going, you hit start, and then all of a sudden they're saying, hey,
First attack.
you want to save the game instead? It's like, no, I want to start the fight. No, you really want to save it. No, I want to start the fight. You sure you don't want to save it? No, I don't.
Hurry up. Time running out.
Hey, I actually got her.
Killer Congo wins.
I used a straight jab in order to do it. I only had about 3.5 seconds left. So you got 30 seconds to get through a fight,
Round two.
where normally in most fighting games you got at least 99 seconds, which is not really well timed. You tend to have a little bit more than it tells you on the clock. Oh, she sprang right up.
Time up.
And I'll win this one because it was the time up. I got a penalty somehow. Maybe for kicking her while she's down. They don't really explain the point system in this game. Not that I think anybody really cared all that much.
Round one. Ready? Fight. First attack.
But you also have to remember in '98, the PlayStation 1 was still ruling the roost. And we were on the doorstep of having the... Is Serena going to come back and take... Man, she's just...
KO.
Wow. Okay. That was cheap.
You lose.
That was $2 beer cheap. But as I was saying, with the PS1 being far and away the dominant system of the time, and we weren't too far away from having the Xbox show up. The 64 and Nintendo were really trying to find ways to get people interested in buying their system, which, again, was the last one to have cartridges on it.
Hurry up. Time running out. KO.
And having the cartridges in the console was a benefit because it meant the loading times weren't terrible compared to the CD-ROMs of the PlayStation.
Final round. Ready? Fight.
And Nintendo was still very much in the idea of, we're going to have our system be designed as a family console, as opposed to what Sony and then Microsoft were doing in wanting to appeal to to a great many different types of gamers by having different titles and different options available. Which, I'm not saying one is right and the other is wrong, it's just a matter of that was the strategy that both had at the time. And I could see this being a game that, like, parents would get their kids thinking, hey, this will be as good as playing Street Fighter or something like that. Especially because if it was one that wasn't on sale for super expensive. I don't know what the MSRP was when it came out. I can imagine being a 64 game, it was somewhat expensive, but probably dropped in value pretty quickly once it was understood what people were dealing with, and the demand probably was not nearly as high as it was for other games at the time, especially fighting games.
Ready, fight. First attack.
Now, I don't know how long it would take to finish this game. You end up, I guess, you cycle through all the fighters, including a version of yourself, and then I think you take on the champion who had disappeared.
Hurry up, time will out. Time up.
And we managed to win that one simply by just staying alive long enough.
I wins. Round 2. Ready, fight.
And because you only have 30 seconds on the clock, it is one where if you can get a bit of an advantage early, it can be a case of having the clock be your friend and helping run things down.
KO.
So if you can't get the knockout, you just stay in front life-wise long enough, and then you essentially win by decision. Which really, do you want to do that in a fighting game, or do you want to knock your opponent out? You want to knock your opponent out. That's the fun. Say, what is this perspective?
Round 1. Ready, fight. First attack.
Holy crap! Talk about stacking moves. He hit me with what, a 6-shot combo right there? This may be the one where I don't get very far.
Round 2. Ready, fight. First attack.
And because you're having to use the D-pad and the computer can go nuts with whatever attacks it wants to bust out, its speed is going to be demonstrably better than yours because you're trying to go high or low, you're trying to avoid the blocks, and it can come in and drop stuff like this with impunity, and there's nothing you can do about it. But we managed to win because we knocked him down, kicked him a couple of times, and that was it.
Guy wins.
So we're 1-1 going to the final round.
Ready, fight. First attack.
Ouch. Oh, and here he comes with that combo. Wow! 6 shots, I was down, and I still had about a quarter of my life left, and those last 2 put me away. So let's see here. Who else can I try? Well, I'll try Serena because she seemed to be doing pretty well in the previous fight.
Round 1. Ready, fight.
And of course, like most Japanese fighting games of the era, you had to have at least one character who was dressed in as skimpy attire as possible. And in a lot of ways, that goes back as an homage to Chun-Li in Street Fighter 2.
Hurry up. Time going out.
Oof.
Time up.
So I went from being up to losing that round because I couldn't get a single shot off. Because as I was trying to execute my moves, he could move twice as fast and essentially attack before I'm able to even convert.
Round 2. Ready? Fight. First attack. Duel.
Alright, got the elbow drop at least. Now he comes back with the elbow drop.
KO.
But we get the knockout.
Did he not win?
So we're square at 1-1.
Final round. Ready? Fight. First
Oof.
attack.
And the elbow drop again.
Hurry up. Time's running out. Time up.
Oh, and I think I got him. By the slightest of margins.
Did he not win?
I did. Well, that was ugly, but it worked.
Round 1. Ready? Fight. First attack.
Ooh. Picked him up.
Hurry up. Time going out. Time up.
I mean, a couple pixels away from a knockout there.
You lose.
Well, if I don't make it out of this one, this would be a good place to stop it.
Round 2. Ready? Fight. First attack.
This really is a case of having just pure button mashing, because since there's no real way of understanding how to do the throws, and I'm pushing other buttons trying to execute throws, all you have really as your bread and butter are punches and kicks. And if they're being blocked sufficiently enough, then you gotta hope enough lands so you can break their guard
Final
and
round.
eventually put them down.
Fight. First attack.
That 3-punch combo is nice. The backhand was not cool on his part.
Very good.
Alright, so now I can play for time here.
Time up.
Because I have more than enough to win by decision.
Did he not win?
And now we're in the snow.
Round 1. Ready? Fight. First attack.
Sunset flip. Good way to start. First thing must be all about throws. Okay, we have the scantily clad girl going up against the underskirt shot.
Hurry up. Time right out. KO. You lose.
And the zombie wiped the floor with us.
Round 2. Ready? Fight. First attack.
I managed to jump off the wall there?
KO.
Well, we came back up the knockout, which is the good thing.
Dana win. Final round. Ready? Fight. First attack.
And the sunset flip again. Flip kick, butt stomp. Oof.
Time went out.
I don't think I'm going to get through this one.
Time up.
Nope. And that's perfect because we're 26 minutes anyway, so... That, everybody, in a nutshell, is Deadly Hearts from 1998 for the Nintendo 64. Now,
2.
obvious question first. Is this a good game? Objectively
Game over.
speaking, no. Not even close. The controls are really stodgy. Because you can't use the control stick and you have to use the D-pad to move around, it limits your ability to pull off any sort of real moves in succession. I would imagine, I don't know if we could remap the Nintendo 64 controller to switch over to the joystick. Back then, that was not as easy a thing as it is now on modern controllers, obviously, because you can plug in an Xbox or a PlayStation controller into a PC and you can map it out however you see fit. You can do the same thing on most consoles, but 25 years ago now, that was not really an option. Designers hadn't really thought that far. You had to go with what they programmed into the game.
First attack.
And with how little Konami seems to have invested in this game overall, when you look at the graphics and the gameplay and the lack of a lot of things that seem to be very rudimentary and very, very basic to any fighting game, I doubt that they would have even considered it had they been presented with it. So, there's nothing really engaging or interesting about the story. There's nothing engaging or interesting about the characters. Yeah, they're different, but, you know, they look very much cut from similar templates of most fighting games of the era. So, is it a game I can recommend? No, I can't do that either, not in good conscience. Because what are you going to get out of it? Is it how much enjoyment can you get from a game that you could probably beat realistically in an hour if you learn how to play it? But this also strikes me as a game that probably did not have a whole lot of stuff included in the manual and the material that came with the game about how to execute all the moves. So I would suspect it's really a case of trial and error, with the emphasis more on error across the board than with trying to get better as you go. Is it a game they can make today? I mean, they could. They could probably make it a lot better, but what benefit would it serve? When you have something that is as bare bones as this, then you would have to spend a lot more time and energy and budget filling in the massive gaps that were already present in this version of the game. So I think it's very much a game of its time, and it can very much stay there as well. I don't see any reason why it would be something that would be brought back. I don't think it could be, I mean, it could be improved on drastically, but at this point, its time has long since passed. But again, it seems like another game that Konami was trying to utilize to pull in potential revenue at the tail end of the fighting genre peak, because the fighting genre peak really topped off at around 94, 95, when the PlayStation came out and we were able to start playing all the classic fighting games that are still available in arcades on that console, your Street Fighter 2s, your Mortal Kombats, and so on. And then Sega was in the process of coming up with the Dreamcast of games like Virtual On and Last Blade. They were importing stuff from SNK, so we were starting to get King of Fighters stuff that was coming in. The Neo-Geo had run its course. It was still available in Japan, but again, you weren't able to find it here. And Nintendo was already looking at at ways to move beyond the 64, and we're focused on other games, obviously, like Mario and Zelda and Mario Kart and F-Zero and all that stuff. So, you know, I'm genuinely surprised, of all things, that this game ever even was created in the first place. And having played it, I have no real desire to go back and play it again anytime soon. But, as we said, that's Suckerpunch Sunday for this week. If you've been enjoying the content, you know what to do to show that. Housekeeping notes, we are having our next playthrough start, as I said, tomorrow. We've already recorded the first batch of episodes. We're getting them edited and put together, and those will start going up on Monday and Wednesday in place of our one-day playthroughs and WTF Wednesday for the duration of the run. And as I said, and as I've been saying, it's a game that is part of one of my favorite franchises of all time that was never officially ported over to the United States. And it was all because of licensing and copyright issues. But it's a very popular series. It spans now, in total, nearly 60 titles over 3 decades. I have most of them, been playing all of them, enjoyed them immensely. So, and truth be told, it's one of the original motivations for me to put this channel together and build the Cade, so I can start sharing my love of that series in particular. So be sure to tune in for that tomorrow. Like I said, we had Sports Saturday yesterday. We will carry that on to next week as we are continuing with our great what-if scenario on the Dreamcast Sega Sports NFL 2K2. What if we can build the New England Patriots dynasty without Tom Brady? We're at 8-0. We're halfway through the season. We're still undefeated, and we routed the Denver Broncos this last week. So things are looking up as we still have half a season to go. Be sure to follow us on social media through Instagram and Threads at Running Central Arcade. Help spread the word about us as we continue to build the channel and make it bigger and better. And that's enough for one day. My name is Ronan. It's been great to spend the Suckerpunch Sunday with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming. We'll talk to you tomorrow as we get our next playthrough underway. Bye.